Hello and welcome to this Python Basics course. This is the first lesson of the course, and today we'll be looking into an introduction to Python as a programming language. So, what is Python? Python's a programming language, and it was created by Guido van Rossum, and its first development started all the way back in 1989 when he first started working on the language. And Python actually got its name. It was inspired by Monty Python's Flying Circus, which was a British television show in the mid 90s. So, why use Python? First of all, Python is easy to use and learn, and almost anyone can learn Python, especially the basics. And the way its syntax is formed makes it very easy to comprehend, and it's organized quite logically compared to other programming languages. And it also works well on all platforms, so no matter if you have a Mac, a Windows, a Linux, Python will work smoothly, and you can even use Python on your browser. Python also has many fascinating uses, such as data science. It can file through tons of data really quickly, and it can also be used very effectively for machine learning, which a lot of companies do. So let's look at who uses Python. So, just to name a few, a lot of big companies use Python. Just to name a few, Google uses Python, Instagram uses Python, Spotify and Netflix also use Python. And a lot of these use Python for their algorithm that recommends you things. For example, on Netflix, if you watch a certain type of show, then the algorithm that finds what you should watch next or what Netflix should recommend to you is usually made with Python. So now, how do you get Python? So we'll be looking at how to install Python, from the website to installing it, and how you can run and create your code. Okay, so to download Python on your computer, you'll first have to navigate to python.org, which is the official Python website. And once you're here, click this little downloads tab, and then you can go. It'll automatically check which OS you're on. For example, I'm on Mac OS, so just click this download button, and it'll start downloading a package file. Once that finishes, just open it up, and it'll open the Python installer for Mac, and Windows may have a different process. So after this, just continue through all the steps, agree, uh, and then it'll prompt you for the installation type. Go ahead and click install, enter your computer password, and then just wait for it to install. So after it installs, it'll open this folder automatically, which it just installed everything in. So in this, there are a bunch of files, like all of these, which you do not really need to read, including the documentation as well. Now, these are the two files you have to pay attention to: idle and Python launcher. So, Python launcher just has some preferences. You don't really need to use those right now. But idle opens up a run shell for your Python. So, this is where you'll be writing all your code. For example, in this, if I type anything, it takes it as Python code. So if I type hello, it'll give me an error. Every time you click enter, it'll run that line of code that you just wrote. And to create a new file, you can hit Command N on Mac. Another great way to use and interact with Python is this website called replit.com. So this is basically a version of a Python editor on your browser. So I just showed you how to install it on your computer and use that. But for this course, to make it easier to use and interact with, and to make it on your browser, we'll use replit.com. So to use Replit, just navigate to replit.com, click Start Creating, and then go through and create your Replit account. So once you've signed into Replit, you should get this screen right here. And so to go ahead and create your first Python file, um, you can go here down to My REPLs and click this Create button. So since Replit is used with a lot of programming languages, in this template section, choose Python, and then in the title you can name it to whatever. For this one, I'll name it print statement, and then click this Create REPL button to create your REPL. Alright, so when you're into your REPL, it should look like this as your first screen. So right here in this section is where you write your code. And all the way to the right here where it says console is where your output for your code will come. And this bar on your left, you do not really need to worry about that. It just has the files and some tools which we'll not be needing. Now that we've got Python installed, let's look at creating your first program. So we're going to look at the print statements, discuss what an output statement is, and also try the input statement. Okay, so I have Replit over here, and I'm going to introduce you to one of the fundamental functions of Python, which is the print statement, right? So the print statement is really simple. It basically does what it says. It prints whatever you have inside that statement onto your output, right? So the syntax is really simple. It's just print just like that. Then in brackets, and inside here you can put a variable or something else. But the simplest way to do it is with two quotation marks, and inside the quotation marks you write what you want to print. So let me write hello world here. Simple. And that's the print statement. So what this will do is it'll just print out hello world. So if we run this, as you can see, it's printed out hello world. So that's just the simple print statement. Now this is what we call an output statement, which basically takes something from the code and prints it as an output onto the console for the user to see. And the next thing is an input statement. So just like print statement, the syntax is very simple. It's just input and then in brackets, and it works almost the same way as the print function with an extra little feature. So for example, let me write what is your name, and then I can give a space. So what this will do is it'll basically print this what is your name, and then it'll give a space for the user to write an input which will be stored. So if we just run this on its own, it'll ask for my name, but it'll not do anything because it's simply taking the input. It's not doing anything with it. So what we can do is we can take a print statement and put this entire input statement into the print statement. So what it'll do is take the input and then it'll print all of that. So whatever I write as the input, it'll print. So let's run this and try. Right, Ishan, it'll print that. Right, again, if my name is Jeff, it'll print that as well. So this is just a simple little program with print and input statements. Alright, that is it for this first video in the Python course. And let me just go into a little overview of what we'll do next in this course. So next we'll learn variables and their uses, which is a very vast world, and you'll need variables at almost every level of your Python journey. And then we'll look at loops, the two types of loops, for loops and while loops, as well as if-else statements that we can use for some more advanced coding. Then we'll also look at functions, which are very useful for cleaning up your code and repeating functions a lot. And finally, we'll do a project which will culminate, which will be the culmination of this course, and it'll involve all of the things that you've learned so far.